When I was younger, I was impatient. I remember the eager feeling of knowing that as soon as I got home from school, there was a new game waiting for me on the doorsteps. But I was the sort who was desperate to get to the story, get to the characters, get to the gameplay. I was the sort of child that didn't even like playing tutorials. I wanted to get straight to the game as fast as possible. But you see, I'd sometimes be stopped in my tracks completely. Despite a burning impatience and a short attention span, there was something hypnotic about a carefully crafted title screen, or main menu screen. And being someone who loved music, in particular, video game music, there was nothing more impactful than when you would load a game for the first time and you'd truly be captured by an incredible main menu screen. Welcome to Everything Fantasy. I'm Corey, a composer who likes talking about video games. And in this video we're going to be discussing the hidden importance of title screen music in video games. That piece of music that plays when we load up our game for the first time. Now it's important to note that not all video games, especially nowadays, have title screens necessarily. But if I think back to my childhood of some of my favourite games growing up, many of them did, and they're an incredible way of establishing mood, context, tone, environment before we've ever stepped foot into the game world itself. In order to do this, we're going to be answering a few different questions such as, what principles make effective title screen music? What examples of games absolutely nail this? And are there any common trends across these games too? But I'd love to know what your favourite video game title screens or main menus actually are. So much of this video is going to be focused on games that I've personally played and have an attachment to, but I'd love to know what you think in the comments down below. But first, I have a Discord community of exciting people and amazing creatives, so definitely join that in the link below. I also have a Patreon if you're interested in supporting the channel even further for as little as $1 a month, and I'd greatly appreciate your support in helping to create videos like these. Take Xenoblade as a good example. Visually, it does a fantastic job of making the player feel before they've ever been exposed to the world itself. And the music completely goes alongside this. There's something beautifully simplistic about that title theme. Hearing the solo piano playing such a simplistic riff at the beginning twice. Once at a higher octave, again at a lower octave, followed by the rest of the orchestra simply playing an E-flat major 7 chord. Nothing complicated, but it makes you feel something inside. It's the sort of piece of music that makes you stop and think, you know what, maybe I'm not going to start playing this game. I'm just going to sit here and watch and listen to the music for a good few minutes. This relates to a principle of writing I was once taught, the idea of showing, not telling. Show the reader, or in this case the player, the emotion that they're supposed to feel. Don't tell them how they're supposed to feel. Another series that really demonstrates this is one that is dear to me, Kingdom Hearts. I remember the feeling of kind of coming home after school when I was first learning the piano on my own and trying to play through Dearly Beloved. It was just an incredible piece of music, and I still think back to the idea of that's one series where I wouldn't skip and play the game straight away. I would stop and actually take in the entirety of the piece. And not only does it do a good job of showing, not telling, it does a good job of creating a sense of familiarity as well. When you hear Dearly Beloved, you know it's so integral to the idea of Kingdom Hearts that no matter what remix or arrangement of the piece exists, you still link it back to that emotion that you experienced when you've seen a title theme for the first time. The Legend of Heroes, Trails in the Sky's second chapter, a series which you should totally check out by the way, also does a fantastic job of achieving this familiarity with its piece Shine of Adios in the title screen. I remember finishing the first chapter and going straight on to the second, and even though I was eager to kind of just continue with the story, that impactful opening, the simplicity of hearing a piano piece, really made me stop and think, let me take a deep breath, and now let me start playing the game. And musically, the most powerful thing about this piece is how it incorporates motifs of previous pieces from the first game. I think that, from a musical perspective, is genius. So far, we've talked about showing not telling and creating a sense of familiarity through music in the title screen, but I think it can function on a deeper level than just that. I think it can almost set up the mood for the entire game. Let's imagine for a second, even if you're not someone that makes music, you were asked to make a title screen for a video game, and you were told that it's supposed to sound dark, empty, and somewhat hollow in nature. The immediate thought is to jump for some production techniques that are going to help you achieve this ambience. Things such as reverb and delays, and from an arrangement perspective, trying to use as minimal instrumentation as possible. It's not supposed to sound busy after all. This is exactly what we hear in the title screen of Hollow Knight. That minimal sounding piano, the dark pad in the background, the melancholic sounding cello, all combining together to create a piece of music where you can pretty much figure out the entire mood of the game just based on this alone. It's careful as well, which I really like. It's really tempting to just kind of slap in 100% reverb and expect the piece to sound incredibly moody off the back of that, but it's very careful and calculated in how it uses those production techniques to create the mood of Hollow Knight. In the same way, let's pick a game which has the polar opposite feel as a whole, and we can still find a similar thing of, within the first 5 seconds of this game, I know the feel, the tone, the character, just from hearing the music alone. Cuphead is a fantastic example. Immediately, the tape saturation we hear right at the beginning, that's the kind of the crackly sound in the background. That, combined with a barbershop quartet, says so much about the game before you've even pressed the start button. But hold up for a second. I don't think that the trick for an effective title screen piece of music lies in the idea of using a piano in every single one of them, because that's what we've heard so far. I think equally as effective is something which tries to be cooler and funkier in style. The entirety of Persona 5 is supposed to be cool, stylistic, over the top, and so much more. At the same time though, there's a bit of a calm before the storm feeling about the title screen of the original Persona 5 main menu. It takes 30 seconds just to hear the melody of the piece of music. Before that, it's very, very chordal in nature. Bass, electric piano, a drum kit, and eventually a guitar comes in as well. Just creates a nice kind of like vibe just before you've actually started the game. And most of all, it is completely stylistically appropriate, especially for a game like Persona 5. Now, I'm only really scratching the surface when it comes to video game title screen themes and the principles which might make a really effective title screen piece of music, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on video game title screens that really stand out to you, especially if I haven't heard of it. But one to end on then is a title screen which approaches things quite differently. Just because there's sound, does it have to be music? I'd describe the title screen of Oddworld, Abe's Exoddus as being more sound design than actual musical composition in and of itself, and I say this largely because of the way in which sound design is used to develop the title screen. We start by hearing a really simple pulsating synth sound ping-ponging from left to right, alongside a gradually rising synth and sound effects in the background. As you continue to the next part of the main menu, that synth sound gets faster, more delayed. And as you get closer and closer to the main game one final time, that pulsing becomes more prominent yet again and laid with another synth. Simplistic, intense, but incredibly effective. So what this shows that it doesn't have to necessarily be a full composition that helps to create mood, environment, tone, and context. It can be as simple as sound design itself that helps to really bring life to the title screen. Now, when I first started planning this video and listing all of the title screens which really stand out to me, JRPGs inevitably took over the list quite a lot. Now, I'm biased as a huge JRPG fan, but at the same time, I started to realise that actually, there are so many games outside of that genre which do such an effective job with their title screens as a whole, and we're not just talking about the music here too. Oddworld was a great example of that. But I'd love to know what you think. What other title screens really stand out to you? Now, if you've watched any analysis videos on the channel in the past, you might think, this is an unfamiliar territory. I'm usually talking about Danganronpa, Zero Escape and that sort of thing, but I've started to branch out into talking about video games more generally. So if there are any topics or themes or ideas that come to mind, definitely let me know in the comments. But for now, thanks for watching, take care until next time.